All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Monday, October 27th. We have an 11-game NBA slate to dive into in today's video like we always do. I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, make sure to keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That's where you'll find all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, it's absolutely free down in the pinned comment. In terms of how we did yesterday, wasn't exactly the worst day. It wasn't the best day either, though. Derek White let us down. We had him over 3.5 threes. He made 3. We also had him over 19.5 points. He came up just shy there. Michael Porter Jr. sweat-free in terms of his threes. And then that parlay, that's what I say. It's not exactly the worst day. We had a plus 175 parlay yesterday. Derek White, so I guess he at least came through there. Michael Porter Jr. and Mikal Bridges, all 2+ made 3. So again, nothing to write home about, but nothing I'm going to get too upset about either. Speaking of being upset, the ride of the day, gotta drop a womp there. Keyshawn George over 14.5 points. This came in from Makai, does not come through. I believe he finished with 6-ish points, if I'm not mistaken, which, you know, I was like 6, 5, and 6 or something he did yesterday, which is a decent enough game, filled the stat sheet. Not in the points category. So the ride of the day does not come through. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day down in the comments. I jump on board with one person's play each and every day and give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If you do win, we continue to roll in ride of your plays. If you lose, you got to face the womp when we're shouting out a loss, which no one likes, right? But shout out to Makai. It was a good look for the ride of the day yesterday. Get those hashtag ride of the days down in the comments. Let's jump into game number 1 here. We got the Pistons taking on the Cavs right now. Pistons 2.5-point dogs at home. Total sitting at 231. This is an interesting one. We have both teams on a back-to-back. Detroit, 61.5% of their games last year they covered in their back-to-back situations. Cleveland was just a 50-50 team. If this was later on in the year, I think Detroit has a little bit more of an advantage in a both teams on a back-to-back situation because they are the younger team, right? With Cade and Asur Thompson and Jalen Duren. But right now, a few games in, I don't think they have that much of an advantage. And I do think from the pick and roll and ball handler perspective, this Cavs team does have a slight advantage because scoring in the paint is what both these teams are going to want to do, right? And the Cavs, I do think, have a little bit more of shooting ability to some degree and playmaking ability, whereas the Pistons, Cade getting to the paint or Duren to the paint, Jared Allen should be massive in this game defensively. So if this number was a little bit bigger, yeah, I'd probably lean Pistons because they're at home and I do think that they can hang and they're similar schemed up team. But at 2.5 points, I think I got to give the nod to the better, at least what I consider the better team. Give me the Cavs here in this spot, minus 2.5. Total at 231.5. I think the Cavs, the slower they play, the better this might go for them. I'm going to lean under. Now, from a player prop perspective, I kind of mentioned the Cavs having the better shooters, but what I really want to target here, and I'm going to do some deep diving on this one, so if you see it's the final play, it means I really do like it today. Duncan Robinson, either in his points or his three-pointers made. This is a Cavs team that the perimeter defense isn't terrible, but it's not all there, and I don't think you're going to get Duncan Robinson with, you know, Donovan Mitchell or DeAndre Hunter on him. There's other guys you want to cover there, so I do think that someone like AJ Green yesterday had 20 points against this Cavs team, right? So I think Duncan Robinson could knock in a few threes. The problem is it seems like he's a head case at times too, right? It's like it's either he's going to shoot the ball well or just not even be able to come close to anything. So we'll see which Duncan Robinson we get, but that's what we're looking at in terms of player props here at the very least. Next up, the Sixers taking on the Magic. Now, the Sixers are 2-0 on the year. Both of their games were like late game comeback wins against the Celtics, who may be proving to not be very good, and against Charlotte, who I don't think that we can crown good just yet, right? Now they play Orlando, who's 1-2 on the season, kind of surprisingly, at least to me. I think that this is a spot where Orlando could get things right. I think the Sixers team, well, Tyrese Maxey and I guess the team in general is looking okay. I think Orlando's the defense that kind of puts a halt to it, right? They scored 117 and 125 in their last couple games. Orlando, I don't necessarily envision letting that happen too easily, and there's a lot of guys to cover in this spot. Suggs hasn't looked all that bad, but you have Bane, Wagner, Banchero, and by the way, Joel Embiid's out, and so is Barlow, and then the other injuries, you know, Paul George, McCain, they're out as well. So I do think the Magic are probably the better team and the healthier team here in this spot. They're coming off of 2 losses, and they're, you know, looking, I would assume they're looking for that win. Even that first game against the Heat the Magic played, it was tough for them to go out there and win that one. So I think they're looking for a dominant fashion type win. I like them to win by 5 or more points. Maybe I'm a little too high on them right now, but I do think that both offensively and defensively, they kind of match up pretty damn well. From a total perspective, I don't think this Sixers squad is going to continue to score, 115 or 120, especially against a defense that I do have a lot of faith in. So what I would look at is potentially a Sixers team total under. I don't want to trust the Sixers defense. I'll tell you that right now. Do they have good pieces? Yes, but I'm not necessarily all over them. So maybe just looking at their team total under. And if the Magic go off and like they did night number 1, score 120 plus, great. We don't have to worry about the under hitting, but we can go under 113.5 for the Sixers right now. That may be something that I'm considering today. All right, guys, before we do move on with the rest of the games, I want to talk to you about Underdog. They have a gimme pick for tonight's Monday Night Football. It is not that one. Let me go ahead and find it. I guess it is that one. Okay, it's a Mahomes free square. I think they did that last week for Sunday as well. I thought it was an old graphic. Mahomes free square, right? That's not even the best part. The best part that Underdog is offering, the best deal right now, is the play $5, get $100 in bonus funds and bonus plays. Like, that is unbelievable. You play just $5, you get 100x. You 20x that instantly, guys, on your way to a nice little bankroll in Underdog. Go ahead and check it out. Again, yes, you get the Mahomes gimme square, which you can use, right? And maybe you do end up hitting that square. You get the $100 back, and then boom, you're off to the races. But I do think that you're going to want to capitalize on that play 5, get 100. If you're going to sign up for Underdog in like a month, and you look back and you're like, man, I wish that we still had that deal. Don't be that guy. Don't be that girl. Go check it out, guys. Again, that link will be down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. Check out Underdog. You will not regret it. Let's jump back into these games. Bulls taking on the Hawks. It's no surprise this total's all the way up at 240 and counting. I've already seen some 241s out there. It's an Atlanta team that doesn't play too much defense. Now, I will say Thunder only scored 117 only, but 117 on them. Magic scored only 107 on them. Toronto did drop nearly 140 themselves. On the Chicago side of things, they've also, played Orlando, only 98 points against. Miami at 109 against. Detroit just 111 against. So maybe there is, I think Miami game, that was their last 3, but if I'm not mistaken, let's see. Let's fact check my brain here. Yes, Chicago's only played 2 games. Okay, well, either way, last 3 games still have a pretty low points against number, right? Is it weird? Is it sound the psycho alarm? Is it crazy to look at an under in this spot? I don't think either one of these offenses is all that efficient in the first place. Do you know what I mean? So they weren't a year ago. The defenses aren't efficient, which can obviously make offenses look a little bit better. But I don't see the offense or the on the Chicago side or the Hawks side really being like a guaranteed 120, and we need both teams to kind of get somewhere near there, right? The spread's only plus 1.5, and the total's at 240.5. I'm going to lean under. I sounded the psycho alarm. It could be crazy because the defenses are so bad and they play with fast pace, but I just don't think these offenses are really firing on all cylinders as of right now. Maybe the Bulls I could see doing it, but I don't really love what I'm seeing from the Hawks. And you say that and you're like, well, they beat Orlando. Orlando, you just got finished saying is a good team. I get it. In terms of a side here, I do think the Bulls at home would be what I look at. I've already said I lean towards the under, right? But I do think the Bulls have the pieces to say, okay, let's slow this thing down if and when we need to. Josh Giddey, even, Vucevic, these guys that can kind of like get the ball and say, okay, let's figure out what we're doing here, guys that are thinking smart. Versus on the Atlanta side of things, you do have Jalen Johnson, who's got a lot of run here. Even Trae Young. A lot of these guys may look at this, and I'm not saying Trae Young can't slow things down, but kind of the idea of being able to say, hey, let's just take a breather. I think Jalen Johnson gets it and goes. Zachary Richichet gets it and goes to some degree. So I like the idea of the Bulls kind of controlling the pace of the game, so I lean in their direction as well. I feel like we rambled about that one. Yeah, if you made it this far in the video, comment ramble down below because I'm all over the place with that one. I lean Bulls and the under, very slight leans. Rockets taking on the Nets. Rockets 15.5-point favorites is an absolutely massive number this early in the year, especially for a team that, is still looking for their first win, right? Brooklyn also looking for their first win. They're 0-3. But I've seen even, I think, plus 16s out there over on FD right now. So this is a weird one. I admit the Rockets are the far, far better team. And I mean far. You also have maybe a Kevin Durant revenge narrative here, right? But overall, that's too many points for me to lay. So just by default, I'm going to look at the Nets here in this spot. Do I have the cojones to actually drop them on the table and say, hey, I'm rolling with it? I don't know. I think this Nets team stinks. But, man, maybe the Rockets as a parlay piece might be a little bit more comfortable. From a total perspective, this Nets squad, I don't really see an easy path to them scoring here in this spot. They're going up against Houston, who's obviously a very, very good defense. And where are the Nets going to want to score from, right? Either Cam Thomas with the ball on the drive or Michael Porter Jr. shooting the threes. Michael Porter Jr. is the small forward here, and this is the Rockets, the 6th best team at preventing small forwards and power forwards, I guess I should say, 6th and 3rd best from making the threes last year. Michael Porter Jr. I don't think is going to have too much success driving into this lineup. This is a really big team. Again, starting lineup projected to be Amen Thompson, Kevin Durant at your 2, Jabari Smith, Alpi Şengün, and then Steven Adams, right? So I would say that this is a spot in which we could say, I don't know if we're going to get too many points out of this Nets squad. Much like we did with the Sixers, I'm going to take a peek at that Nets team total under. Right now, it is a pretty tough number to swallow, right, to get good odds for, especially this early in the year, right? You're looking at under, I want to say it was under like 105.5. Yeah, 105.5. It's kind of tough. I mean, so far this season, they've scored 117, 127, 101. That was against Charlotte, Cleveland, and the Spurs. The Rockets are probably the best defense they've seen so far. So, yeah, maybe a Rockets parlay piece, but everything kind of circles around the same idea that I think the defense from the Rockets is going to be the biggest thing that shows out. I also like the idea of Alpi Şengün, and I think that this could be a good enough spot for him. Just given the fact that, his matchup is going to be either Michael Porter Jr. or we've even seen Terrence Mann move down to cover some of these back to the basket guys. I think that Şengün should have a decent enough day. I don't know if that means points or points plus rebounds or even points, rebounds, and assists, but I think that he could have a decent enough spot here. So keep an eye on the final plays for this one. Pels taking on the Celtics. Now, I know this is not a Celtics show, but quick rant here. This Celtics team may be a lot worse than even I thought. And I knew that they wouldn't be all that great, right? I'm not the biggest Jaylen Brown stan. People on Twitter will say I'm a Jaylen Brown hater. I just call it like it is. Jaylen Brown scored 40 points yesterday in a losing effort against the Pistons. He had just as many turnovers as assists. And on the season, I think his assist to turnover ratio is like 11 to 15. Jaylen Brown being a black hole and just shooting the ball every time and dropping 40 is going to result in the Celtics losing season. So we need to figure that out. He's got to be able to facilitate if he's going to touch the ball that much, right? There's my little rant. They also can't rebound, which isn't necessarily the worst thing, I would say, against this Pelicans squad. They were, bottom 6-ish in the league last year when it came to rebounds, and it makes sense, right? Yves Missy is their center. You have Zion, Herb, Trey Murphy, and Jordan Poole. Like, this might actually be a team that the Celtics can finally compete with on the boards, going small and everything like that. So I don't mind the Celtics in this spot, even though a Celtics fan just got finished ragging on the Celtics. But them to finally get their first win here would not surprise me whatsoever. You do have the Pels at home here with a massive rest advantage. I think they last played on the 24th, and the Celtics obviously on a back-to-back here. So sure, that can be something that you make note of, but New Orleans with a rest advantage. This is crazy. With a rest advantage over their opponent just last year, which obviously with injuries and whatnot, it's a little skewed and different, but a 35.7% cover rate. The Celtics may have a chance here, so I'm going to lean in that direction. The total's at 232.5, sure, because I think that we could still see some second chance points and stuff like that from this squad. And also, in terms of scoring in the paint, I wouldn't want to be, I think that Zion can get in there and do some damage today as well. So, though their best player, I do think has a good game and all that, I still think the Celtics at plus money right now would be the look to go towards. And again, I like the over just because I think that this is still a team that struggles rebounding, and you could say the same thing about the Pelicans. We could see multiple second chance possessions here in this spot, in this game today. Spurs taking on Toronto. The Spurs 3-0 here, and honestly, I would say they only have like the one really good win over Dallas that I give them credit for, but they've looked good still. But they beat on New Orleans. Not that high on New Orleans, right? Brooklyn yesterday, obviously not a very good team, so it's not like they're smacking around these teams other than night number one. I get it. Toronto on the other end is 1-2 right now. They beat Atlanta night number one, lose to Milwaukee by I think it was 6 or 7, and then they lose by 10 to Dallas. The San Antonio team beat Dallas by nearly 30, right, or something like that. I do think that that's a big piece to mention, and just looking at the lineups too, like I don't really see anyone on this on this Toronto team that truly gives Victor Wembanyama struggles. Jakob Poeltl might not be able to move side to side or laterally quick enough, right? And then Barnes or Ingram or anyone on the bench you throw at him obviously is going to be a problem, but he's going to have a size advantage over them. Obviously, it's no secret that Wembanyama is off to the races in terms of what looks like it could just be like a ridiculously good year, MVP type year for him, right? I think that shines through yet again. I'm going to lean Spurs minus the 5.5 points in this spot. That total at 232.5. I'd rather just say team total over for the Spurs. I guess I just don't fully trust this Toronto team, but I did admit a couple days ago that they were impressing me, just not in this matchup. Not a team that likes to get into the restricted area. That's where they shot the second most, especially with Barnes, RJ Barrett, Ingram. I get it. Wembanyama standing down there is like, yeah, no, you can't, none shall pass type of a thing. They're going to need to shoot the ball from three, and I just don't necessarily see who does that on this squad. Maybe quickly, that's probably what we would say. So give me the Spurs and their team total over, maybe a Toronto team total under. Again, I don't think that their scoring profile fits against this Spurs team at all. Mavs taking on the Thunder here. I have a few different thoughts about this one, and I will say I've gone back and forth. I think that this could be a decent enough matchup for this Mavericks team, but then there's a couple other ways to look at it where it's like, oh, they're going to get, rolled or ragdolled, right? Now, they're coming off of a quality win. We just mentioned it with the Raptors, right? They won, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday to the Raptors by 10 points, so I give them a lot of credit there. Cooper Flag, 20 points, went 4 of 4 from the line, only 2 of 6 from 3. But this is the good news, I guess you could say, for this Mavs team, right? I don't think that they're going to necessarily prioritize being in the, other than Anthony Davis, I guess we should say, prioritize being in the paint all that much, which is obviously where this Thunder team strives and thrives defensively. Now, obviously, Case and Wallace, Lou Dort can be perimeter defenders, but if you're just going to shoot the three against this Thunder team, and you're shooting it fairly well from a catch and shoot standpoint, you can do okay. They were number 3 in terms of third worst score percentage with catch and shoot threes last year. Now, are the Dallas Mavericks going to run that? They didn't run it a ton last year, but they're doing it a decent amount to start the season. So that's the good news. If they shoot well, they stay in this game easy. I'm not even kidding, right? The problem is, are they going to be able to stop this Thunder team in the paint? This is where it just skews drastically. They were awful in the paint last year. Now with Derek Lively and Anthony Davis, they may be a little bit better, right? But even still, like, this Thunder team has multiple guys that will get down there. Off the isolation, this is also really, really, really bad Mavericks defense, and the Thunder run a ton of isolation, obviously with Shea, and same thing with pick and roll. So the way that the offense works for the Thunder, it looks like it could score every single time down the floor. Maybe the Mavericks could too if they do hit their shots. What does that point us towards? Well, I'm going to trust the fact that the Thunder are the better team just overall and can kind of make bigger plays at different times, and we don't have to worry about them having a good shooting percentage because I think that they will score well in the paint. I'm going to lean Thunder, but I really do like the idea of an over here. If this Mavericks team even shoots well whatsoever, they put up a decent number against this Thunder team. Mark my words. Well, it's on video. It'll be marked. So go ahead and, come back to this one to see if it happens or not, because we all know that I've jinxed things from time to time, right? But either way, I'm going to lean towards the over as well as the Thunder, but I did go back and forth, and I think that back and forth ultimately did lead me to somewhat of a confidence level in the over today. All right, next, the Jazz taking on the Suns. Are the Suns that bad that we're looking at a 1.5 point spread in this one? Like, is that really what we're looking at? Because I think this Jazz team is bad, right? You might be able to say that they're nitty gritty and they'll grind, Keontae George, obviously Markkanen, Kessler, Filipowski. Like, there are a bunch of young guys that maybe want to fight versus what I'd consider not exactly the same thing on the other side. Maybe that's the reason, but Devin Booker is by far and away the best player in this game, right? And I would imagine that he has a good enough game against one of the worst defenses in the league. So I'm just going to lean Suns here and not overthink it. Has Booker looked all that great, and who's he passing to? I can understand all those arguments, but I really don't think that this is all that great of a Jazz team. Now, I think that they're going to, and we've kind of already learned so far this year, that they might just, shoot the three a bunch, and if they're on type of a thing, which shouldn't be all that surprising. But is the Suns team really that bad defensively on the perimeter? Not necessarily. I don't love them down low or anything like that, but to me, I'm not overthinking this one. Suns. In terms of that total, 234, if the Suns play Suns basketball, it's going to be half-court stuff with Devin Booker ball in hand, off the pick and roll and everything like that, right? Or even off the isolation. That should slow things down drastically. So I'm going to lean towards that under 235.5 as well. And I guess I'm going to take a look at Booker props. I think that, again, like, I don't really see, like, what is Keontae George, Mayachuk, Markkanen, who's covering Devin Booker in this spot, whether it's just him facilitating the offense or scoring today. Minnesota taking on Denver. I kind of smile when I say this matchup because Minnesota has owned Denver. Last 6 games they've played, they've covered in 5 of them. They've won all 6 of them. In terms of any injuries in this game, Anthony Edwards is questionable. That's massive to note, obviously, right? You have Minnesota coming off of a nice win against Indiana. I thought they'd win by a little bit more, but yeah, no, not so much, right? In that win, I think Pascal Siakam gave you 30 plus, if I'm not mistaken, too, right? But we saw Anthony Edwards, play, what was it, 3 minutes, and then go out with the, what was it? Hamstring injury, yeah. So, like, he may not play in this one, and if he doesn't play, then sure, I'm going to lean towards the Nuggets. You know what I mean? Like, without Anthony Edwards, I'm not exactly sure how much I like this team. Now, I'll give a lot of credit to someone like Julius Randle, who Anthony Edwards goes out and Julius Randle says, okay, I'll give you 30 right now. Like, that's awesome, right? Even Naz Reid, I think, had a good game off the bench. But I still think that this team operates a whole lot different, and that was Indiana. This is the Nuggets, and a Nuggets team that you don't think they're coming into this spot being like, this freaking team always beats us. So my lean's going to depend on Anthony Edwards. If he doesn't play, yeah, give me the Nuggets. If he does, and I almost imagine that he's not playing based on that spread. And if he does play, then I'd happily take 5.5 points. I think that's the type of guy that kind of goes at this team, right? From a total perspective at 228.5, I'll be honest, don't have the best of feel for this one, especially if the number one scorer potentially in the game, but definitely on the Timberwolves, is out. Maybe a lean towards the under. If Julius Randle's going to be the offense for Minnesota, we already know that the Nuggets, even though, they'll play fast paced from time to time, even last year they kind of did, but they'll definitely say, hey, we can definitely play half court basketball if you want to. We could easily stumble into that, right? Warriors taking on the Grizzlies here. Both teams 2-1. Memphis beat New Orleans and Indiana in that blowout fashion. Golden State beat the Lakers, beat Denver, and then, a few days ago lost to Portland. Now, it was on the second leg of a back-to-back. Now they have a lot of rest, so I get it. I just wonder if that 8.5 points is a little bit too much, right? I mean, this is a Golden State team that defends the paint fairly well, and Memphis likes to score in the paint, so maybe that's what we're looking at. And same thing on the other end, like obviously we know Golden State likes to shoot the 3, and Memphis kind of struggles against the 3, but 8.5 is a lot. But again, the fact that, we have defensively and offensively, I think Memphis struggles to score. Golden State actually one of the worst perimeter defenses that they've seen so far. I get it. I'm going to lean Golden State, but it was tough to get there. The good news is that this is a Golden State team that doesn't run isolation. And why do I say that? Well, this year off to a decent enough start, but even last year, number 1 team in terms of effective field goal percentage and score percentage defensively against isolation. I just mentioned it. We don't need to worry about the isolation. Where they do struggle is the catch and shoot threes, which we've already kind of talked about the perimeter. Golden State is a big-time catch-and-shoot 3. They're middle of the pack in terms of pull-up, so Steph will probably be okay and stuff like that as well. But to me, just things aren't adding up for Memphis to really keep this close, and they're really deep. But I do worry that at times, Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson, their top-end guys can kind of get taken out of the rhythm and out of the game to some degree. So I think that might happen today. Give me Golden State. That total at 238. If the Grizzlies are struggling to score, I can't see this game going over, right? The only way that I like a lot of points here is if Memphis is flying up and down the court and scoring in transition or scoring in the paint and making easy buckets. Transition, decent enough defense on the Golden State side of things, and we already talked about the in the paint there. I like the under 238.5. I'm trying to get behind some player props here, like Steph could be one that I'm looking at. Some Memphis team bottom 10 against point guards threes last year, but obviously we're paying a premium, paying a big tax for someone like Steph at home in this matchup. Lakers taking on the Blazers. So Lakers, in terms of their starting lineup, I feel like I'm not going to say I don't like it at all, but it is a weird one. Now we have no Luka, and you have Marcus Smart, LaRavia, Reeves, Hachimura, and DeAndre Ayton. Like, you can't sit there and tell me that is a really great starting lineup, right? The problem is, okay, you flip it over to the Portland side of things, and these guys, they're also on a back-to-back, but maybe you can argue that both teams are just as young in different spots. Drew Holiday, Shaedon Sharpe, Denny Advia, Kamara, and Klingon. So it's like both these teams, back-to-backs, really messy-ish lineups in a sense. The only thing that I think looks okay is Portland's ability to shoot the ball, and I do think that they'll shoot the ball from 3 a decent amount here in this spot. So I'm going to lean Portland. I think no Luka, no LeBron is a major shell shock to this team. Now, could we argue that Austin Reeves may be the best scorer on the court and they still have him? Maybe, but you're talking like player C at this point, right? I get it if someone likes Lakers Day, especially at home, but no Luka, no LeBron just seems like a really... Gabe Vincent also questionable, right? He's not in the starting lineup. So it's like none of these scorers on the other end of a back-to-back are playing, whereas Portland looks like they might be just rolling the guys out there. I mean, we'll keep an eye on the injury report because obviously with back-to-backs, these teams have more time to be able to delegate and announce questionables and stuff like that. But Portland's going to be this spot for me. And then in terms of total, it's low at 225.5. I like the under. Like I said, this is a messy game. Now, before you guys jump at me and jump down my throat and be like, oh my God, you said this. This is probably the most volatile game on the board. You know what I mean? So I'm not all that like thrilled with it whatsoever. But guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you made it this far in the video, go ahead and comment 25 down below. Really do appreciate it. All the support, everything like that. Hit that like button, subscribe. You guys have been crushing in terms of, viewing the videos and interacting. This community we're building is absolutely awesome. Catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.